most dangerous comedy of the year.
The music biz is dangerous. It's rough out there.
Wait, not right. No.
Good morning, Dad.
Hey, I'll speak to my daughter.
Good morning, John.
Be tough.
What's with the finger? That's not gangster. That's not gangster.
Be strong.
Don't apologize. I'm sorry, Chili.
And be bold.
Dabu, don't give me no gun, man.
It's my wife's cousin.
Be cool. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, March 4th.
Hey, come on, clown it, baby.
Hey there, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Unfinished Business Television Deep Dive, where we take a look at a movie and spend the whole episode talking about it, little known trivia, our interpretations, and everything. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Jeff Galashaw at Unfinished B2 and also Projector J1 on social media. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
Twinkle, twinkle, baby, twinkle, twinkle.
Yes, and that can only mean we are talking about the movie Be Cool from 2005, a sequel to Get Shorty. And I can tell you, spoiler alert, this movie is not cool. So this movie has Chili Palmer, played by John Travolta, deciding he's tired of movie producing and he has decided to get into the music business, just like the Elmore Leonard original novel sequel is. I should have known when I didn't finish reading Be Cool, the novel, that what we were in for, because the movie kind of halfway through makes you wish you quit it too. Now, this one was my pick, and I will admit, I love Get Shorty. And I saw it, it's the movie I've probably seen the most in theaters next to Sister Act at the time of its release. I think I saw Get Shorty 5 times when it was released, or 6, ultimately. And so I really like that movie. I thought John Travolta, everybody, Gene Hackman, of course, knocked their roles out of the park. And then, once I saw the trailer, I started getting worried about this movie. And I went with my friend, Kat, and we saw this opening weekend on a Sunday. I should have known when the theater was only half full. We were in for some problems. And I can deal with the movie better now than I did then, because when I saw it back then, I was so upset and disappointed. Now I can see little spots of joy or, good ideas. But ultimately, yeah, this movie sucks. John Travolta's hairpiece is more obvious this time around. I like that most of the cast are kind of stars. You get James Woods in a cameo. You have Harvey Keitel, who plays an old adversary of Chili Palmer, but yet was playing Harvey Keitel in the last movie. The only other cast member who comes back is Danny DeVito. And I guess James Gandolfini was busy, so now Chili has a bald associate who we're never really introduced to who just runs around with him. So we're like, okay, who's that supposed to be? And I think maybe they didn't bring James Gandolfini back because pretty much it's kind of a similar story where he kind of takes The Rock, who's supposed to be the bodyguard to the villain, and kind of turncoats and ends up helping Chili more than anything. So you have that similar thing. And then you have Uma Thurman as the female lead. Like, just fuck Renee Russo. We never hear about her. And Chili, they don't even really have a romance. It's just one scene, they're in bed together all of a sudden. Even though he took her dancing. And obviously, they're trying to milk the whole Pulp Fiction thing there. And, I like the idea of Cedric playing kind of a Suge Knight puffy, but really Harvard-educated gangster who's also a record executive. And, Andre 3000 being kind of like this idiot rapper who's like a henchman. So, like, things like that I like. I even like Cedric's monologue against, I guess, the gangster before he shoots him, talking about race. But like Christina Milian. She's a beautiful young lady. She's a good actress, and she's a decent singer. But the film blows her up so much to be like the next great singer, and she doesn't fulfill it. Like, have her singing scenes, the songs are like, okay. So you don't even see what Chili and all these other people are seeing in her talent. And then even when she gets on stage with Aerosmith, it's not that great a duet. And I don't even know why Steven Tyler's in this movie. Playing himself. I mean, they mention, like Gene Hackman's character at least, so he gets a shout out. But this movie was just like a waste. It felt like Hollywood Squares the movie. Like, hey, let's bring in this person for a cameo. Let's bring in this person for a cameo. And then even like, what is it? The white producer, he didn't really has nothing to do. And even the secretary at the office, she has nothing to do because this is all Chili being basically godlike because he knows everything that's going to happen. And even having Debbie Mazur as a homicide detective, she really doesn't have anything to do. And let's face it, and I'm sure this is why you saw it too. Most people came to see this movie for The Rock, to play against type. And, it's okay. He's funny for what they give him to do, but it's not like, oh, he's gay. It's so hilarious. At the time, Vince Vaughn's black scent bothered me, but now I can stand it because at least he's trying and he's funny. He's a little old to be doing it, but at least he's trying, Robert Passarelli, that was a strange casting decision. Joe Loop. And he died of unfortunately drug overdose during filming. And I feel like this is the film, if anything, that kind of stalled F. Gary Gray's career. Because I'm just like, I like F. Gary Gray. He's a good director, but this was like the first like failure for him, at least to me. So Andre, let me hear what your history. I know you wrote a recent article about the movie on Collider. So tell me your impressions and your history with the project.
Well, I had seen Get Shorty on video, remember liking it because, I was in that Quentin Tarantino phase, and I guess Travolta being in Pulp Fiction kind of rubbed off on me to see all the movies I didn't get to see in the 90s with him. And so when they announced they were doing Be Cool and they were putting the cast together, The Rock definitely stood out as the reason I wanted to see it because of the fact that he had already played all these like Schwarzenegger type of action roles, or I thought he was going to be the next Arnold. And this was an opportunity for him to show Hollywood he wasn't going to be just another wrestler turned actor. He was actually going to take a chance and play a gay character, which I think also created a little bit of a strain between him and Vince McMahon at the time, because even though The Rock was starting to become increasingly a part-timer in the company, Vince was still pretty instrumental in the type of movies he was doing. And when he wanted to do this, Vince was like, no, this is going to kill your career. It's going to kill your image. And that's why after this movie, he dropped The Rock name and just started being credited as Dwayne Johnson, as well as staying away from the WWE for pretty much almost a decade before he came back in 2011. So he had really needed this part to show people that he could do like family films, he could do comedy, he could just go beyond just action. And I think he succeeds to a point. I mean, he does play it up a little too hard at times, even though he does have some funny moments, like the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles bit with Vince Vaughn. I thought that was kind of hilarious when I saw that in the theater. So he's not bad, but he definitely, I think, is one of the better standouts for the movie before, Rock became such a divisive figure in movies after the fact. But for the rest of the film, I agree. This is probably the one that arguably held up F. Gary Gray's career for a while. And he even admitted he felt he should have quit the movie when the studio told him to make a PG-13. Because look, Barry Sonnenfeld planned to come back originally, and for whatever reason, schedule conflicts or whatnot, it didn't work out. F. Gary Gray was coming off the Italian job, so he was red hot. But here's a movie that's got Shylocks and gangster rappers, and it's LA, and you're kind of doing a parody of the whole East Coast, West Coast rivalry in the music scene. And you're going to make this a kid friendly PG-13 movie. No, that doesn't even quite sit right. So that's why I like having Cedric the Entertainer in there trying to do his Samuel L. Jackson impression is funny and you get behind him with it, but it seems like they kind of watered that down a bit. Having the stuff with Travolta and Uma Thurman, it's not like Pulp Fiction at all. It's just really fan service to just get them back together. A little nice having them dancing to Black Eyed Peas with Sergio Mendes, because I'm a big Sergio Mendes fan. But again, waste of time. Doesn't move the story. And like everybody else just felt like candy coated filler to make this movie accessible to a teenage crowd. And a teenage crowd ain't gonna see this movie for Travolta. Okay. And I agree with you on Christina Milian. She looks great in the film, but musically, I don't know what makes her stand out. Sure, like when she's playing the piano and doing her original track, I could see where maybe you would think that there was some talent there to push. But then once it's like, okay, let's put her with Aerosmith, she gets engulfed by the rock music. She doesn't really stand out other than what? She's supposed to get the rub from Steven Tyler. No, it doesn't really do anything for her. And it gets absurd, especially in the third act. The whole, like, everybody's twisting on each other, trying to work with the Russians. They have to find this thing in the Russians' pawn shop. It's like, I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm more just to like The Rock, what he's doing, and if this girl's going to make it in music. It just, whatever made Get Shorty work, they deviated completely from what Elmore Leonard wrote in his novel. And there were a lot of deviations from the book, which he was kind of forced to write because Get Shorty was such a success, even to the fact that I think he wrote Vince Vaughn's part with Chris Tucker in mind. And then they said, oh, let's make him a white idiot.
Oh, jeez. Speaking of Christina Milian, the writing of her character was enough. Because truly, she's like the only innocent character in this film, but yet everybody's sticking their neck out on, putting their neck on the line for her. And it's like, I always felt like that was kind of an act. And I think the film would have been more interesting to find out she's hustling just like all the rest of them are hustling.
Yeah.
Then I thought, okay, mate, now you've made her character interesting. I will say, Uma Thurman looks great in this film, even though, again, he's not needed in this film. And I mean, even though he's a scumbag, I kind of wish we had more James Woods in this movie. He was.
Well, I was reading he was supposed to play the Harvey Keitel part, but he had a aneurysm, so they gave him the smaller part instead.
Yep, and just like Brett Ratner was supposed to be Barry Sonnenfeld's replacement, I think this is perfectly a Brett Ratner movie. More than
he was attaching himself to everything and then dropping out or pissing off the actors.
But this seems more like his type of material, like Thin, but just in LA. I like that they put a little bit of lore, like when I guess the goons are hanging whatever what's his name, Vince Vaughn's character by the ankles.
Raji.
Yeah, that goes back to like, Suge Knight doing the same thing to Vanilla Ice for the royalties. And Joe Pesci was supposed to be in this one, but they never said what role he was supposed to play.
I'm thinking on the car.
I could see that more because I don't know, maybe because I actually know how old Harvey Keitel is. So him having this cell phone constantly attached, but being a former gangster, it didn't fit, and as much as he tried, but really looking at the credits, I should have known this film was doomed when I saw who wrote it. Peter Steinfeld, who 21, not Analyze This, but its sequel, Analyze That, and Drowning Mona. These are his big screenplays that he has been credited for. So should have known what we were in for, if not by the trailer. Because again, the trailer kind of makes it look fun. Vince Vaughn doing this black scent. The Rock as this gay Samoan actor. Cedric the Entertainer as like a gangster. Andre 3000. I don't know, just a dumb character. Uma Thurman looking good. and a bikini and being on John Travolta's arm. And it's like, so I understand you like lost your love of making movies, but one of the things of Chili Bomber was that he was so obsessed with movies. And now you have like no movie references. And it's like, no offense. Now all of a sudden he's a music fan. It's, like he's like, oh, by the way, the black. And it just felt like one of those old Hollywood, like, hey, let's go see the Black Eyed Peas play with Sergio Mendes, and then cut to the scene. It was like, and it was just, this movie. See, just even talking about it brings up so much about watching this movie because it has the ingredients to be good, but it's just so disappointing. And what's worse, it feels lazy. Most of all,
I feel like a lot of these movies that try to open the window to the entertainment industry in Hollywood usually fall flat because it seems like the people making the movie get the jokes, but anybody that lives in middle America or lives on the East Coast will have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Unless it's something like The Player or I don't know, like just any movie dealing with like even Get Shorty, dealing with how you deal with the politics of the music industry or the film industry. They tend to be like inside jokes that just don't translate.
well, I mean, I guess that's why we get that stupid, was it baseball bat subplot? With Joe Loop. I mean, I don't know how State and Maine went over, but I thought that one was kind of good. About talking about Hollywood. It just reminds me of that Simpsons episode when they come to Springfield and try to make a movie and then lose all their money to the citizens of Springfield. Then they come back to Hollywood and I was like, we'll support you. And unfortunately nowadays that is gone too. But yeah, like I said, this movie, it had the potential, but it's sort of like Elmore Leonard writing a sequel now. That's what it feels like, the movie. It feels forced. Like, none of this needed to be made. We could have just let Get Shorty be Get Shorty. And worse, it doesn't have like the level of, let's say, a Bette Midler cameo from Get Shorty, where you didn't even expect her to be in the movie. This movie doesn't have any of that. And that stupid staple scene where they, I guess, trying to convince Steve and Tyler, and he actually remembers Uma Thurman's character, even though she claims they never slept together. Yeah, let's forget that. And then we have to see kissing cam with Danny DeVito kissing Anna Nicole Smith. Like, I wonder if as a producer, Danny DeVito's like, we got to have a scene with me kissing a chick, hot chick.
That's why he got divorced.
But my thing is, why did we even need Martin Weir in this? Just so we'd have another character from the first film?
Yeah, it felt like well, obviously he's a producer, so they probably just threw him in there just for the sake of it. But I agree, it probably would have been nice to have some references to what happened to James Gandolfini and Rene Russo. They're just like kind of forgotten, and it's just only about Chili.
Yeah, and what happened to Linda Moon, the singer Martin was sleeping with, who knew Chili? Like, even she, or whatever her character's name was. It's like all this, and it's like, I don't know. Like I said, it was just a bad movie. Just like you would think Harvey Keitel would notice Joe Loop missing and figure out Raji was the one who killed him, because he's the only one who has a problem. And what was with Joe Loop's thing of going to these look like senior citizen dance halls? That was never even explained. Like, what? What was it, a wisp that he had? But yet he's going to talk about like Vince Vaughn, the way he speaks. I don't know. It was just like, yeah. Oh God, all those. At least Jon Favreau wasn't in it with him. I'm just like, that's, like you said, that stupid Roscoe's chicken and waffles. Don't let any of your gay chickens be touching my chickens. I'm just like, wow, that was 2005. Like, yeah, you couldn't get away with that line now. Like I said, it just feels like a big budget waste of time, and everybody in this film can do better than what they did. Okay, maybe not Vince Vaughn, because, he pretty much rode that comedic train. for a while. One thing I want to note about Get Shorty, another reason why it's memorable, you have cranky Gene Hackman in this movie playing like kind of a weak producer who tries to talk tough to Dennis Farina and then gets his ass kicked by Dennis Farina, an ex-Chicago cop in real life, playing a mobster. So I think that's the only time I've seen Gene Hackman physically humbled on screen in his whole career, where he was supposed to kind of be the tough guy. And, because even the movies he played, Heroes, I don't think he ever lost a fight, really. And even in Prime Cut, he's fighting what's his name with a chainsaw. So it's not like he was getting bare-fisted beaten. And, so.
Well, he was in full Macbeth mode in No Way Out. Like, once he killed Sean Young, he was a scared little shit.
Well, if you really want to go full Macbeth role, watch him in The Quick and the Dead, because it just seems like he really hated Sharon Stone. Like, not the character Sharon Stone's playing. He hated Sharon Stone. He just seemed,
I could believe that.
That's why he's so believable on screen, because he's just like, I don't fucking want to be. What's with this guy and all these fucking multiple camera zooms and shit?
She didn't go on with Schwarzenegger. She didn't go on with Billy Baldwin. Nobody.
I wonder, do many people get along with Billy Baldwin? So I'm like, and we forgot to mention Gene Hackman's greatest cameo, other than Young Frankenstein, the Mexican, where he tells the lore of why this gun is so important that they're all looking for. And I don't know who he owed a favor to for that movie, because I just don't see him being like, I like this Brad Pitt kid, or Julia Roberts. She's hot. But it makes me wonder, if he wouldn't have did Welcome to Mooseport, would Runaway Jury have been his last movie?
Yes, and he was also going to lend his voice to that canceled Dirty Harry video game.
Okay, it's a check. I know now I'm sure his old 90s was like, why the fuck did I work with Ray Romano? These Runaway Jury are going out on a high.
You're losing me, my jury.
It's like, I'm competing with him over Moira Tierney? Like, well, how? I'm going up against Everybody Loves Raymond? It's like, really? This is where my career. Maybe Ray Romano was such a bad actor. They're like, fuck this. I'm retired. And fuck Clint Eastwood. You don't call after Unforgiven? I could have been in Space Cowboy. But no, you called Donald Sutherland.
He called him for absolute power. He played the perverted killer president.
Who gets killed by Eli Wallach? Or no, E.G. Marshall?
Off screen with envelope opener.
Who's using a cane throughout the movie? It's
horrible.
It's like I couldn't even get killed by a young guy. I get killed by a guy who's older than me. It's like, couldn't Dennis Haysbert couldn't it be Friendly Fire? It's like, jeez. Dennis Haysbert, come on the show. Tell us power and other, because obviously we're over Be Cool. Because
he can afford it. He's got his Allstate money. He can come in.
And he plays all the older man lover in all these black films. Like the zaddy, as they go. So
he takes all of Denzel's hand-me-downs.
Oh, right. And they give it to him before they were going to go to Ernie Hudson. So, because I guess Dennis Haysbert's like, I don't do television. I only do movies. Love Field was supposed to be my Denzel movie. So, do you have anything else to say about Be Cool other than since the conversation shifted to Gene Hackman's greatest hits?
I just don't recommend it. I think it's just a pointless sequel. Stick with Get Shorty.
Same here. I just wanted to pick it because I just wanted to revisit and talk about why people should avoid it and why it's bad. I like with I Still Know, it it softened with age my feelings for, but it's still a bad movie that I don't think anybody needs to see. So that is our commentary on Be Cool. And as you know, we always have plenty of unfinished business down here in the deep dive. So until next time, we bid you adieu.
Dry なだけどドライではない。うまさの辛口。Pure and dry。本格派キリンドライ。
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.